Hey guys!
Welcome to Waggle Friends English. Today we're going to do something a little different.
We're out of the office.
We are in our dining room and we are labeling soap because something we haven't said yet on this channel is we actually have another business on making soap. These are the soap bars and candles and all kinds of smelly things to make your house smell really good. But we have to wrap some soap. And we figured it would be a great way for you guys to listen to a natural conversation that happens because obviously a lot of times people have a conversation, they're doing something.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, in English, a lot of times people, when they think of learning English, a lot of times we've been so trained for tests and standardized tests and assignments and prerequisites that's the reason why we learn English. But I hope you guys have learned from listening to our YouTube videos that is not what our goal is, but our goal is to be able to use English. And so a lot of times in America we are doing things while we're using English because that's what it's for. It's a tool for communication. So today we're going to talk about a little bit what it's been like to have businesses and a little bit more oriented towards business English as opposed to maybe just some more theoretical things that we've talked about on this channel, more practical.
But small business English. We're not talking about corporate at all.
No.
We're talking about what are some terms that we use in entrepreneurship that we actually use in the businesses that we run. So, all right. So,
and something else that should be said before we start is that we haven't scripted this. We have the questions, but we haven't actually scripted the answers because we want you guys to know what it's like when two people are having a conversation while they're doing things and how that actually happens. We want you to hear the ums, we want you to hear the I don't knows, and so that's the goal of this, is to hear really practical business English that hopefully you can understand a little bit more what it's like to actually use this as a skill. So,
for sure.
What's the first question?
Well, the first question is just some things that you hear or that we heard before we became business owners or before we taught abroad. Like, I guess let's start with, like, what are some things that we heard before we moved abroad to teach?
Almost some, like, assumptions. You mean, like, some things that, like, warnings or something like that?
No, I mean, while we were in university, people talked about people going abroad to study or to teach English. And we eventually did. We did go to teach in Asia for 4 years. But what were some things that we heard, and then what were some things that it was actually like?
I think one thing that I often heard from my family and friends about working and living abroad is that it's going to be so incredibly difficult. And it was difficult, but it's not like we were dying. Like, it's not like we were in a war. We were teaching. We had a pretty decent life there. It was hard to adjust to the culture, but, like, it wasn't like we were suffering.
No, not at all. Not at all. We enjoyed living abroad quite a bit, actually. Especially in terms of, like, language learning and learning culture, because you literally learn something new every day without really trying to. You go outside, you're going to learn something new.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
Also, that was the first time either of us had studied a language with the immersive method by actually living in country. And that was a really unique way to practice learning Mandarin.
It also, I think, when we left, they said that basically we were going to be super lonely. And make no mistake, we were a lot just because it's difficult living in another country. Yeah, it's not your own culture. But with that said, we did have access to friends and family that would help us, or not family, but friends that would help come to our apartment or talk with us. And your mom came one time, and so it was not as lonely as it could have been.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like we were, like, living on an island.
Yeah. I mean, kind of.
We were, like, living on an island surrounded by people.
Yes. People mountain, people sea, for those of you who know what that means. Yeah. So what are some things that you heard about business ownership before you became a business owner? What are some things that people, like, touted to, like, do it because what?
Money. That's one of the things that, like, I have always assumed being a business owner would be about, is all about the money. It's about earning dollars, it's about profit, it's about profit margins, and being a business owner now, it's very, very much, I'm very much aware that it's not that way. Like, being a business, yes, you have to pay the bills, you have to pay the lights, you have to pay for the, resources. But in reality, where business happens is not it's not the labeling of soap, it's people to people.
Yeah.
And for me, so I've learned that people have warned me, hey, it's just going to be about money. The customers that come in, they just care about the money, and you just care about the money to them, and it's kind of like a selfish relationship. Both parties are selfish. You're selfish, I'm selfish, so we're both selfish. And that's okay, but it's really not like that. There's definitely a very big relationship part that goes in with business.
Yeah.
And running a business and owning a business.
I think one of the things that I heard that people said all the time was like, it gives you the freedom to work when you want and how you want to. I just want to say that we've put in over 75 hours of work on top, like that's not including his master's degree schooling that he also does. He's a full-time master's student still, finishing up this spring, but
finishing soon.
But the thing is with two businesses on top of two young children, on top of the ministry and the servicing, like the serving that we do, the volunteering that we do, on top of his studies, has been ridiculous. But the two businesses themselves have taken over 75 hours for the last 2 weeks, like each week. So it is not super freeing, I will say that. But we're also kind of in a startup stage. Our businesses are each only a year old.
Yeah. And the startup for businesses in general is going to be a lot more
time-consuming.
But
yeah, the way we're doing it, we enjoy it. Don't get us wrong, because we're all together and we're able to each spend time with our kids in the day, because our kids are too young to like let them go on their own. They can't just self-play for an extended period of time without being interested in a light socket or something. So we can't just leave them alone. So, and obviously we don't want to either. So if I'm working, Josh is with the kids. When Josh is working, I'm with the kids. And then we both make sure that we spend at least an hour with them in the evening. And we spend every meal together, things like that. And that's a plus. I would say that's a plus. But we work like dogs and we don't sleep very well in the meantime.
Yeah. So how would you say our life compares? How is it different from being an English teacher in a foreign country versus business owners in the States?
Being an English teacher somewhere else, that was like 20 to 30 hours a week to work. And that's like grading, student meetings, and teaching all together. Now, we were making way less money. I mean, not from now, but what I mean is like way less money than a normal American would be at our age. But we had so much time.
Yeah, and the cost of living was a lot
much lower than in America.
And where we were, the cost of living was so cheap that even though we earned way less than minimum wage here in the States, we were able to have a pretty decent life. And like you said, since we had a lot of free time, like I was able to invest more into language learning, and you were able to invest more into like raising our first son and just being able to spend time with him. And researching
for this business and our other business, our tutoring business. So I learned how to build a website. I mean, we learned a lot. I honed in my writing ability and my proofreading abilities as well. So like, it was really good. And though it was different and difficult in a constant cultural pressure kind of way, it was also really rewarding in terms of time. Time.
Yeah. So
I would definitely say working abroad is definitely the least stressful route to go between the two.
Yeah. And we know, we've seen a lot of YouTubers that talk and teach about their lives abroad, and honestly, as I kind of referenced earlier, it is a difficult life to have where you are a foreigner, you're always a foreigner, but people that are studying English, they know that feeling pretty well too. They know what it's like to be in a context not their own, and to be lonely and to not know what people are saying. And so it's that kind of pressure. But so being back in the States, one of the things that's very different is that we get to have the ability to actually talk with people that understand that we have this business. We started Wagwell Friends English so that we can continue to talk to people that are like you, which are trying to study and survive in another culture. While this business is more local, it's more able for us to talk to people in the community, and so we have both a local business and kind of an international focused business. So I think it's really cool, but it's definitely different from being, we weren't really 9 to 5, but it was more like 9 to 2 or something like that.
8 to 2:30 or something. It wasn't very long, but see, this is the thing though, is like we could have things a lot easier if we hadn't started 2 businesses. And if you're one of those people that wants to start a business in America, I really strongly suggest you don't do 2. We did 2, and going back, I think I would advise us not to do 2.
Yeah.
We really enjoy this though. Like, this soap and candle business is a lot of my background as for my childhood. My mom is a soap maker, has her own soap business, and I grew up traveling around doing stuff like that. My grandmother is a quilter, and she grew up doing things too from her mother, who worked with ceramics. So I mean, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs in terms of the craft area, and this to me is very nostalgic. And also I want my kids to learn how to run a business too, but running something like this in America during COVID or after COVID is not a great way to make money for your family and to live off of. So that's where the tutoring business and the digital business side comes in. It's also a passion of both of us, language and writing and learning and teaching and people. Those things are great things, and it just happens to that both of these businesses are equally important in a lot of ways to us, which is why we did 2 businesses. But I just strongly would not recommend it. We could be working just 40 hours a week. But
only 40 hours?
Yeah, I don't know if we know how to do that anymore, honestly.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of working from home?
Yeah, that's a big debate now, especially because of COVID, because a lot more people are working home now than before, and we've heard both sides of the story, especially being in having this business, having the candle and soap business. We've heard a lot from other workers, other vendors that are out there, and it's pretty mixed. Me personally, though, I actually enjoy working from home because I get to help out, I get to see my kids, I get to wake up early when I want to, and I get to sleep in later when I want to, and normally I just wake up early when I want to, and I get to work on my schedule at my time. So instead of another person saying, okay, I want you to get here at 9, like I can actually get there at 7 on my work, and I can actually get ahead, or I can look to the next project and I can build it up from there. So in that way, I really like working from home, because if something happens, if one of our children has an emergency, like stabbing his mouth with a straw or something like that, I can go and I can help. And because what are these businesses here for? They're obviously here to provide a service. I like soap, and I like being able to make people clean and smell nice. In a safe way. But more than that, it's to be able to serve, and to serve my family, and to serve people. And so, in my opinion, working at home helps me to do both of those better, not worse. So but I know that not everybody's like that. Yeah,
a lot of people go nuts being at home. A lot of people are like, why do I have kids?
Who are you?
Others, I think, I've heard a lot of people saying, like, they need that commute, they need that driving time. In America, it's super common to have like a really long drive time, depending on where you live. We're from the American South, so everybody has a car, everybody drives anywhere from 5 minutes to work to like 45 minutes or an hour and a half to work, just to live in a place that's cheaper but close enough to still, the job still pays for your gas back and forth. I just love the fact that I just say, okay, kids, I love you. I'm going to go to work, and I walk into my office. I love that. However, I will say it is more difficult to be focused at home. I grew up homeschooled, and I grew up with my mom working from home and stuff like that, which helped a lot. So I was used to it, but I remember that being harder for you. Like, he has to plug in and have his headphones on, so he doesn't hear everything, but he can hear if there's an emergency.
Yeah. And that is the downside, is the emergencies. It's the hard things. It's the, hey, I had a student just message me and I really need to pop in here really fast. And so, but in my opinion, those instances of frustration and mixing, work and personal life or whatever, those are very, very few and far in between relative to the amount of time that I get to serve people and serve my family better.
Sure. Now, what are some things you would say, though, that we have to do that most people don't think about having to do because we work and study from home?
I think one of them that I personally do, which is kind of a weird example, but I have to have an idea for my kids' education. And that's just homeschool in general, but our kids are 3 years old and 1 year old. Like, a lot of people don't necessarily have, like, a really big, lofty goal for their toddler and newborn, basically. But for us, like for me, I need to have that sort of structure in my mind because there's so much going on that it's really difficult for me to keep it straight, and I know that there will be for them. So for me, I think as a business owner and as a parent, I need to be able to have that structure in my mind so that I can better parent and run a business and do school.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the things that we really think of that we do differently than most people do, not all people, but we have a very strict schedule at home, like, and it can flow, it can flex as it needs to for extemporary circumstances, but by and large, there's a certain amount of time every day that I go to work and that he goes to work, and we trade off that time with the kids as well. There is a certain time and there's a certain bedtime routine and stuff that we do because we might do all the stuff that we currently do, but do it at someone else's house because we're helping them out for the day or whatever. So it's very important that we take that routine that we have for our kids for their bedtime routine and we do that same thing at someone else's house, because we do live a more flexible lifestyle, and that is harder on their younger age. They really enjoy schedules and knowing what to expect. So in our life being so flexible, we have to provide that to them to a degree as much as we can. And we are their constant, but I mean, something terrible could happen and one of us or both of us not be here one day. So it's just one of those things. It's just, we have to keep in mind and balance all the different variables and all the different things that we do in our life and think of them constantly. But also for the sake of businesses, these cannot survive if they don't get a certain amount of time every week, and each of them need a specific amount of time, and there's some things we can do with the kids and there's some things that we can't do with them awake. So right now our kids are taking a nap. It's a great time to film but sometimes we film at night after having washed the kids, gotten them down, and then pouring some candles up or labeling soap, and then we go film a video. So sometimes we have to be very kind of crazy and be able to go from one job to the next really quick. But it's not easy.
Yeah, and one thing I think that is also really difficult with having both businesses or even working abroad is that the predetermined roles get very difficult to maintain. So, for example, like a lot of times people think and assume, well, guy's the breadwinner, so he's going to be out doing stuff and working a business, and the wife's going to be at home, which is pretty normal. It's traditional. But when you are living abroad, or you it's actually easier if I guess if you're living abroad, but even if you, especially if you own businesses or you do work at home, you can't really have that easy distinction. And so for me, I think that would be some piece of advice that I would give for anybody looking to do something similar of having a business from home or teaching abroad or anything like that, is that you have to hold those ideas of what you think is normal pretty loosely.
Yes.
And because otherwise you will be for a very rude surprise.
Yeah, for sure. So what is it like being, more specifically, what are some things that we have to do as owners of two different businesses? I think one thing specifically is the scheduling, but this business takes in-person vendor events right now. The tutoring business takes scheduled lessons, whether that's 30-minute lesson or an hour-long lesson, and it takes prep time for us. So on average, 1 hour of tutoring for us is an hour and a half of preparation before and about 30 minutes of debriefing afterward. Of taking our notes, updating things, typing in the things, turning in the payments and all that stuff. So I think that's a big thing there, is there's a lot of scheduling that has to happen, and that hour and a half of preparation often needs to happen the day before or 2 days before you actually meet the student. Yeah. So you've got to be able to keep all that fresh and on your mind and organized. And when you're going place to place, like we do some weeks, it's really difficult.
And to be honest, we don't make it easy either, because we have this business model, this idea in our minds that it will be better if both of us are involved. A lot of times people say, well, you do this and I do that. You do all the production, I do all the marketing, you do all this and I do all the selling, or something like that, which is, it's efficient, it's nice, it's good to do that, but it's also can be detrimental, because if I don't, I may not be the smartest person when it comes to marketing, or I may design something or edit something and I may think that looks pretty good, but I need another pair of eyes at least to say, what do you think about that? And a lot of times I feel like when you separate the situation or the even the roles inside the business, you lose a lot of that creativity, which is really good. You need that creativity, but it just becomes efficient and just becomes rote at that point.
Right. So what are some things you think we could do to make life a little easier the way we have it right now? I mean, and I don't mean like assuming we have to keep doing all the responsibilities we have, but what are some things we could do to restructure or to, I don't know, hire out some help, or what are some things that we could do to give someone else or whatever to make life easier?
For me to graduate. No, but seriously, being a business owner, one of the biggest things that you have to be careful of is bottlenecking your business on one thing or another.
Yes.
And that is very dangerous, because I could crank out tons of videos, but if I have to edit all those videos, which I do currently, then that means that's going to bottleneck the business. I can't make more videos in my mind, seemingly, before I can edit those videos. It's just this delay almost.
Yes.
In the same way for this business, there's also more delays that happen. And so to be able to identify those, editing being one of them, and to be able to delegate that out to somebody who can do it, I think is
perhaps better.
Yeah, perhaps better.
Perhaps better and more efficiently, because there's something that's really hard not to do when you have a service-based business like our tutoring business. Every hour is worth a certain price amount when you're tutoring. Now that price amount is split up between the 3 hours total it takes. 1 hour of tutoring, 1 hour and a half of preparation, half an hour of debriefing. Okay, so the price of one tutoring hour is actually for 3 hours. But that's something that hour could be spent doing something else. Like editing, for example. For us, it takes what? Probably 2 hours, depending on the video. This video will probably take what? An hour or hour and a half to edit.
Yeah.
And then 30 minutes to an hour to design the thumbnail for and upload it to YouTube, write the description, put the proper links in and the right cards and all the stuff that you have to do. some of that could be hired out and we could get that much back. Like we could reserve that hour for a student or preparation for a student. You know, it's a big juggling game, but you don't want to look at your time as dollar amounts either, because you could be reading books to your kids and feel like you could be making money doing something else.
Right.
So that is an investment in who they are. That's an investment in just family time and a time that you only have them for such a short time. Like, you get to sit there and enjoy them. You should enjoy that. But if you're always thinking my time is worth this amount per hour, then that's something that could be really dangerous. But hiring out would help with that too, I think. Hiring out some things. There are things that I obviously would rather always do, like writing emails and doing the actual teaching and such. But it's one of those things, I think. The importance of a business like this is that we are able to serve you guys, that we're able to do this. The purpose of starting this YouTube channel was to be able to provide free English practice, free lessons. We noticed while we were working with students one-on-one directly over the last several months, and even while we were teaching in China, we noticed that we were saying similar things, that we were having to teach a methodology to learning English. We were having to teach how to goal set. We were having to teach how to study more effectively, all of which are things that they shouldn't have to pay a private tutoring price for. That's what this channel is for, is to be able to provide free practice, free listening practice, free worksheets, free things like that. And if a student should desire to pursue deeper learning, we can spend that whole tutoring hour specifically on them and what they need, things that we can't do on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that's really important for us and why we do YouTube. Why is it worth our time when our time is so constrained between two businesses? It's because of you guys, and we want to provide you guys value that matters, but that's also free because it can help you out. And so whether you're studying for a test, or whether you're trying to study with your family, or whether you yourself are just preparing to come to America to study or work or travel even, these are reasons we do what we do on this channel and why we do spend the time. And so time is an important thing. It's number one in our culture, really. We'll do whatever we can to get more time, but that time is best invested when it's in other people. So we definitely, that's why we do this.
And I think that's where our businesses come down to, is not necessarily a matter of earning money necessarily. We need to support our family, but it's more about how we can serve. How we can serve our people, how we can serve our family, how we can serve our customers, how we can serve you. And so if you guys have any ideas on how we can do that better for you guys as far as making videos in the future, let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear your opinions. I know this video was a little weird. It's a little different. We're doing things and we're talking to you, to each other. But the idea, again, is that we use English as a skill, as a tool for communication. And so as you guys continue to watch our videos and to listen to our videos, continue to think about what better ways we can help you or serve you in your English language learning as we continue to try to make more videos for you guys. So stay tuned and watch out for more videos as we try to keep on cranking them out. And again, if you guys have any ideas, put them in the comments below, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.